I've been searching for that very hook all my life, like the talon of a gigantic bird of prey bearing me aloft from here. Only swiftly, not dreamily. Far away from this hell on earth. Every place was really just a stepping stone. From here to some other place. From Moscow to Berlin, from Berlin to Italy, then to Prague or Paris, then back to Moscow again, then to Ilabuga, holding the end of the rope in my left hand, always holding it, always scalding that rope. No one ever dared see it. I turn my eyes from the rope too, but the truth finds us, even when we shun it. It finds us and tortures us till we're vacant vessels bloated by vain, senseless dreams. We all roam the world with a rope in hand, but not all of us look for the hook. Know from whence you have come and pretend not to know where you are going. Year in and year out, that's how I lived. That's how we're all condemned to live. What a merciless God that took such special care of Marina but cared nothing for her. But most people know there is a hook at the end of the rope, but somehow never ask themselves where the rope ends, how high the ceiling ought to be, what the hook actually latches onto. Only the poet begs for the end of the rope, for the hook. The poet never gives up. I never gave up. On the contrary, between 2 points runs one straight line, a line between the hook and the other end of the rope. The rope glistens like a violin string, enriching the note, purifying it. Note and string blend, becoming one. The note becomes even more precise and lucid, revealing the hook in all its true glory. A special hook in the most perfect place. There can be no other hook. There can be no other place. Ilabuga. A godforsaken, heartless, bottomless hole of doom. Ilabuga in Tartarstan. Ilabuga! The only good thing is, it's the gate that leads to you. You will stand there in a black suit with a white bow tie, resembling a waiter. A waiter in the middle of the forest, because you always loved trees.
Silver birch trees I loved, with their white bark and silver weeping leaves. I will hold out my hands to you, Marina.
Without saying a damn word, Reiner will stroll.
I won't say a word. Neither of us shall utter the first word. Startling music with rhythmical fury. Hurry! For we know the coupling of two chosen words spawns a sea of poetry.
But we have no desire to wrestle with the likes of verse any longer. No longer. Right, Reiner?
You seem out of sorts and cross with me tonight.
No more lyrical labor pains for me, Rilke, whether you like it or not. And no, I'm not cross with you. I want you to agree with me, Reiner. But you don't seem to see it Marina's way.
Don't be angry with me. I am simply straining against the force of this approaching night. Still, in my heart, I feel what is truly right. You can't give up the word, Marina. You mustn't give up the word. Not the word. Listen. Poetry will sprout out about us now that we are here together, you and I. The gentle pawing of our feet along the slick blades of grass.
No, you're wrong! There's no jubilation in words. Words, often used for swords. Vacant words feed your mouth with worms.
Love song. Remember my Marina? Huh? How could you forget? How can I keep my soul in me, so it shan't touch your soul and accidentally set it free? Upon what instrument are we to stand, and what musician holds us in his hands? Oh, sweetest Marina!
You're right, Reiner. You're so convincing, my Reiner. Here I go once more, always falling. With you, there's no escape from the web of words, pulling switches in my head, clicking in my ears. A kaleidoscope of butterflies will flutter and encircle us.
Make way for the Prince of Poets, Reiner Marina!
And for poetry's bastard bride, Marina Svetaiva. Only from now on, there will be no bells tolling, no drums humming, no raucous cheering. Only a rustle to accompany our verse of choice.
Flowers will bow their heads as your caressing look stroke the petals, and tiny shimmering lights will flicker on the surface of the gurgling brooks.
Naturally. Perhaps even pestilent insects will whisper to bitter war-torn weeds.
Calm down, Marina. Playing the cynic fails to become you in the moonlight. The world will speak solely in poetry, as in the days when Orpheus strolled the meadows. Everything that touches us, you and I, shall be as the bow of the violin, creating one single voice out of two separate strings.
You know everything, Reiner. Only my string will not snap. My rope is sturdy, strong. No more question marks, exclamation points, hyphens, ellipses. No more idiotic critics bemoaning my style. They will write Bolshevik harlot,
faithless slut,
megalomaniac. They will say the hook was Marina's final poem. That's how they'll sum me up. Harshly, neatly, comical and grotesque. They'll have their way
with me. Care what they said. Who are they anyway?
The hook is the key to unlocking the treasures of true poetry. I thought that you, of all poets, ought to know. At last, I will be a poet. Not a woman, not a mother, not a warrior, not a saint, and not a prostitute, but a poet, Reiner, and only a poet.
Marina, my poet. A poet and only a poet. Not a woman, not a saint, but Marina the poet and only a poet, and that shall be that.
No, we shall not escape hell, Reiner. Never, my passionate Reiner. Whether covered in rags or with constellations in our hair, wrapped in starry nights or cradled in the apple orchards of paradise, surely we shall find ourselves in hell. We are all, whether by skip, hop, or fall, bound straight there as we receive his final call. It was no coincidence that everyone left and I stayed here on my own, Reiner. It was so that I could speak with you, to prepare you for my arrival. It's not easy to get along with me, Roque, but this time with you, it will be different. And you're right. I can't betray my poetry, the essence of me. I wrote to you from St. Gio, remember? It's not enough to be familiar with one's personality. Flighty circumstances are of no less importance.
Circumstances which accost one's heart, gnaw at one's fertile, virile soul. You wrote, with you I shall be softer, calmer. I will change. I grant you my honorable poetic word on that, and that means everything to me, Reiner. You know me.
You know what I'm like, Reiner. Only you know the true Marina. No, it was not by chance that I stayed here on my own. My landlady, Anastasia Ivanovna, stormed off to work. Some travail that the revolution invented. This revolution that reared its tyrant head one morning and ordered all its citizens to volunteer for forced labor, so that by the end of a day's work, every single slave of the revolution would receive a loaf of bread. Anyway. Anastasia Ivanovna's old husband got wise to the revolution quickly and sent his wife to give Caesar what was rightfully his, while he took their youngest son fishing by the river. Fishing for a revolution. Boring! Listen, even Comrade Stalin couldn't order the rivers to spawn fish according to quota. Oh right, the rivers! Russia's sole consolation. So that's how the proletariat made their living. Chewing the bread of the revolution, peeling the scales off the flippin' slippery, flapping fish from the Jordan. Ha! What a filthy joke! I cooked some fish for my son. He's only 15, you know. So now he'll be certain to eat something when I'm gone. I'm always cooking, scrubbing floors, peeling potatoes. Look at my hands, right now.
Oh, I see. Show them your bruised and battered hands. Do not be afraid. There's nothing to be ashamed of. These are the hands of a poet. You are not blind, you out there. Poetry's not a cross to bravery bear. It's not a paradox or some sick despair. May God be fair to our Marina if her soul to him she earnestly bears. Or do we stand to judge each one of her less than celestial affairs?
Marinetta, if you don't practice, this is all you're ever allowed to play. Do you hear your mother clattering away? Before I'm through with you, I'll make the greatest concert pianist that ever breathed.
These fingers my mother forced to obey and play the piano, still they were always drawn to the pen.
Practice, or you'll get the belt. I'm punishing you. It's true, child. I mean every word I say. Practice piano, practice. Do, re, mi,
Do, re, mi, oh dear me.
Practice every single moment of the day. Oh, our mother's Reiner.
My mother used to dress me in little girl's clothes. And your mother tried to turn you into the world's greatest pianist.
You're not very funny, honey. Marina, you haven't practiced your piano lessons today, and you have skipped yesterday. What have you in your defense to say?
But I've written a poem, Mama.
But she's written a poem, Mama.
A child 6 years of age does not write poems. She plays the piano, and you will learn to play. Play! Besides, no lessons are needed to write poetry.
Well, you see, Madam dear, that's why I'd have to step in and disagree.
Who the hell is asking if you agree or disagree? You have to play better than me. Are you deaf, dumb, and mute, child? Or are you pretending not to hear?
She never let me be. Now, Reiner, you are my witness. Can't you see? She never saw the poet born in me.
Had I wanted, I could have played piano beside Rubinstein.
Fine, just fine, Madam dear. That would be simply lovely, delightful, glorious,
Are you
sublime.
making a mockery of me?
Oh, heavens no. Surely no. Who, me, Rilke?
Mother, torture your piano keys, but leave him be.
Who the hell is he?
The German poet, Rainer Maria Rilke.
I see. Now everything's perfectly clear to me. You and he will write nauseating poetry. Marina, will you bury my piano beside my poor dead body? May I at least beg that of you?
Same damn thing with Mandelstam's mother and Pasternak's mother, too. Horace wrote me once, when we were still soulmates, that his mother gave up playing the piano for her husband and her children's sake.
All those mothers who gave up everything they loved so dearly for something they loved so much less.
I know. My mother, Boris's mother, Mandelstam's mother. I'm a danger to my son now, to his future. I don't want to spoil his future. I never gave up on my poetry, though, never. You were right, Ryder. You made me see I cannot do without the liberty of poetry. And that's why they call me the mother who devours her children. Do you hear me out there? I never gave up on my children.
Sure you didn't.
That last summer, my last summer, 1926. Oh, Marina, if we should have met, how we could have electrified each other in the maddening heat.
Don't speak, Ryder. Don't speak.
All those lost spaces we never occupied. Marina, the plummeting stars. Tsvetaeva seems to have brought to the moribund Rilke's last summer a caramel dream. Alas, their plans to meet were never realized.
Ryder, I begged you not to speak.
So, what Liebe for Russia do you possess?
Irina! I had no choice. I had to leave Irina in that goddamn institution. Her older sister Alia was burning up with a high fever. When I put the mirror close to her mouth, I couldn't tell if the steam on the mirror came from inside her mouth or from the freezing cold outside. Irina didn't have a high fever at all, and I thought that in that institution she would be taken care of, but mighty Mother Russia didn't bother to serve Irina with even a cup of hot milk or a slice of bread. Who needs a tiny 3-year-old girl who isn't part of the state's quota dance? It's as if they stoned her to death. I don't have a clue where they buried her. I don't know where any of them are now. Where is Irina's father? Where is Osip Mandelstam? Where is Max Voloshin? Where is Andrei Bieli? Where is Velimir Klemnikov? Where is Gumilyov, Meyerhold? People who have been swallowed up by the fog. The murky, twisted mist of revolutionary bullshit sprawled out like a slithering, slimy snake, choking the death out of the zealous ones, the enlightened ones, Ryder. You may not know of these poets, but they all knew of you. before Anastasia Ivanovna's old husband took their son fishing by the river, he asked me...
Will you be all right, Marie?
Well, of course I will be fine. Off you go. Why do you ask?
You look tired, a bit strained.
Strained. He was right. The wires of my poems always buzzing and hissing, sizzling, fiery. Can't you hear them, Reiner?
Enchanted one, how do you harmonize two chosen words to reach the rhyme which comes and goes in you as by a mystic sign? From out your forehead leaf and lyre rise, all yours in metaphor already goes, through songs of love whose phrases soft as rose petals ascend no more because their eyelids close.
You killed your beloved Arinachka, didn't you?
Mama, please don't put my soul on trial.
You're guilty of sin. You strangled her. Your murderous, treacherous soul is within. God's given you a frozen heart beneath the thickest, toughest skin.
Please don't cry, Marina! Don't cry! Oh, Mama, how I want to die!
If you repent, I know you lie.
So I'm a liar, am I? Reiner, we inherit from our parents all that which we later pass on to our children. This isn't cheap psychology I'm peddling to you. This is the natural cycle. From the seed to the fruit. You see, my mother wanted to tie me to the chair so that she could play her piano in peace. I am certain of it. And I actually tied my Irina, but I never meant to harm her.
Oh, please. Sure, I wanted to tie you up, to hold you down. As a child, your infernal racket never ceased.
Shut up your noise, you ghastly thief! You see, my love, there was really no need to tie me to the chair. I was clever. I could read at the age of 4. I could write in 3 languages by the age of 6. I never clung on to my mother for anything. I was in love with poetry.
Yes, yes!
Das ist freilich das Blut. Das Blut ist das Schwerste. Das Blut ist schwer.
You understand me, Reiner. My Irina couldn't speak at all. She could never keep still. She's singing now. Can you hear her?
Oh, yes. I hear her perfectly, clearly.
You're the only one I can rely on. She just rocks in her cradle humming.
Something is wrong with Marina's little one. They all snicker at me. What a pathetic mother Marina turned out to me. In the afterlife, Marina's howls, how they torment me.
Rocking to soothe herself from side to side. She screams something awful when she's hungry. And when there's no milk in the house, she screams even more so.
She howls miserably, child. I tell you, she howls!
Leave Marina in peace, woman. Don't get in her way. Let's say that nothing evil will come our way, and it will all be a quaint holiday.
How nice for you when you swipe in Marina's pathological liar's way.
Mama, disappear, will you? Go away!
All comes and goes in circles around this holy ghost, huh? That certain ghost you're familiar with, of course.
How commendable for you both. How precious. If only what you poets conceive we could actually believe.
I used to walk the streets with Irina's elder sister searching for milk. But it wasn't possible for us to leave her alone in that chair. We had to tie her up. We had to, Reiner. We had to, Mama. My mother also tied me up. But not with ropes. With different cables.
I was Ivan Vladimirovich Saitayev's second wife. My husband's first wife died on him. But he never stopped loving her. Oh no. He never ever did. Not even after he married poor innocent me.
Mama used to say that she and Father married over his first wife's coffin. Why on earth did you marry him, Mama?
Because that's what women did in those days. They got married. I was 21 years younger than my husband, and yet I was faithful to him until my end. Until my end. That is for your information. I have a German poet friend. Anyway, I recounted stories to Marinachka.
I never read stories to my daughter. I needed to write them.
I recited poems to Marinachka. She was too selfish for that.
I never read poems to my daughter. I needed to write them,
It is your
Reiner.
fault. Every shit bit of guilt finds its
It's not my fault that I'm the one that writes what other people read.
It's not a fault, dear hearts. It's possible to read together, but it's only possible to write apart.
I was always alone. And Irina was alone. And her sister Alia was alone. Although my eldest learned to read my poems fresh after I finished writing them, hot from the grill of the page. She grasped very quickly how one should live by a poet's side. What price one had to pay. Upon Irina's death, 2 sturdy hands tenderly landed, planted firmly over my baby's head. God graced me with 2 infant heads, 2 tiny heads, ripe for the stroking by each poetic hand. With these two hands clutched mercilessly, I fought against death valiantly, only to save my eldest daughter's life. But in bashing evil so, I lost the battle for my youngest daughter's life. How could I ever let her go?
How could you ever let her go?
Marina followed slowly. It took much trying, as though some obstacle still barred her stride. And yet, as if her spirit on the other side might not be walking anymore, but gently flying. Perhaps I'm going mad. Trapped in the other world, I've lost my poet's head.
I know. Everybody pays a price. My mother paid a price.
I'm still paying it.
She even fell in love with another man.
Did not.
And later on with a second one. Still, she was faithful. Why?
I was proud of your father. I was. I am.
Who really had nothing much to do with you.
Your father was in love with his museum. It's true.
The first National Museum of Russia. Since my return to Moscow, I haven't dared visit that museum. Who knows what they've done with those sculptures? And with those books? My father gifted those ingrates with his library. He gave them mother's library as well. I gave them my library before I left. What have they done with Balzac, with Romain Rolland, and Hector Marlowe?
That's bourgeois sentimentality, you know.
Oh, I know. But what have they done with Mark Twain, with Perrault, the Brothers Grimm, Anderson, Hoffman, the so-called opium of the masses? Who dare read Anderson and the Komsomolsky Reconstruction? My poor son. When I had a son, I read everything to my son. I meant him to be the man in my life.
One ought to have one true man in one's life.
So right, sir. So correct. One man, but only one man.
You're one to talk.
Ladies, please, don't fight on my account.
All the books my mother read to me, I read to Georgi. That's what I meant to say.
Oh, so you're at least admit I read your books. At least your poor mother gets credit for that much anyway.
But now Georgi's meant to keep silent about them, to play the mute. But those books, yellow pages threatening to burst out of his belly. That's the way it is with books. 2 years ago, when we returned to Russia, he complained to me, "You fed me this capitalist shit, you're to blame." I'm not to blame. Georgi, my dear one, Russia's to blame. My mother made me drink from the open veins of poetry too.
I made you drink poetry?
But I never meant to do the same to you, Georgi. To harm my own blood with the brutality of words.
I warned you against poetry. Educated you, brat. Ungrateful pig. How dare you?
I turned into a vampire, Reiner.
Well, that's how it is with you Russians. You are poetic vampires. Enchanting, entirely captivating, but ever so melancholy.
Go ahead. Lure her on. Cheer her on. My distorted, contorted mess of a
And I
girl.
bit my son on his thin neck. And for that, I beg your forgiveness now. Forgive me, Georgi. Perhaps my Irina was silent, for she never had a home. The one born without a home is silent. There's no one to hear one's stories. No pictures on the walls to weave stories from, no sculptures to tell stories to. No carpets, no furniture, no people. My sister and I had a real home, though. Even the name of the street where our house stood was like a poem. The 3 Pond Street, in the middle of the city. Ducks in the backyard, pigeons in the coop, acacia trees. And at the gate, standing guard, 2 silvery cypress trees, at least 100 years old. On wintry nights, Susanna Davidovna would light the big stove, serve tea, and Mother read us the poem of Lorelei.
The siren that seduced sailors on the Rhine and pulled them down to the murky depths of the river.
Mother, please don't speak. Just do what you do best. Play.
Very well, Marinechka. You know how to get your way. Just keep playing.
Not yet. I want to breathe the sea salt air to live. Not yet! Reiner, I know only one person, you, who equals me in spirit, you. In a world where there is so much want, my soul desires only you.
People cannot understand, Marina, that there are no partitions between the living and the dead. There's none.
When they informed me of your death, Reiner, I laughed. I knew that you still are, even in spite of your coffin. and that you always will be. Just like you knew I am, in spite of my withering body. There is a brotherhood. There is a bond. There is a contract between friends, between poets. Not muted, but just silent for a while, awaiting resurrection.
Keep life and death in quotes, Marina. It's an easier pill to swallow.
Alone here, I eat my heart out, Reiner. Well, you right now are a part of some distant star. Happy you are, aren't you? The New Year will soon be here. Take me with you, Reiner. You and the verse are on the other side, of course. You are my verse. I don't need to be lost. And with everyone who leaves me, there goes a part of my longing, my soul. Afterwards, it's so much easier to meet them again. I met Alexander Bloch. I never met him during his lifetime, though, just like I never met you. Oh, well, what's not meant to be is not meant to be. But I'm not crazy, Reiner. We'll be together in the end, you and me. Still, I always knew that I was his great love. His love, Reiner. Ordained for him all his life, but never consummated. After his death, Bloch told me that all his life he had known there was someone out there.
Someone I desperately loved. But I just didn't know who she was.
I told him it was me.
We met on the bridge overlooking the Moscow River, did we not?
He loved to walk there, always. He told me he always waited for me there, on that bridge.
Yes. I used to watch the chunks of ice that floated down that river.
He stood there, and the snow fell right through him. The bridge became transparent, the houses opaque. This was heavenly Moscow, the everlasting reflection of the silent city. White clouds roamed the corridors of the Kremlin. Walls melted at the touch of Bloch's hand, and I walked beside him, outside of time. Two of the dead I never succeeded meeting in spirit while they lived, Reiner, my mother and my daughter. Do you think they're boycotting me? Oh, perhaps my mother warns my daughter.
Don't go back to Marina, Irina. She has a heart of stone. As I lay dying, Marina wrote poems, love poems, only busy with herself. Under the birch trees on our street, barricades had arisen. But Marina was in love with Napoleon. Outside, a revolution raged, but Marina dreamt of bullets.
This is what she tells Irina, Reiner. I just know it.
Why shouldn't I tell the truth, Herr Reiner?
The truth is that I was in love with Ellis. He translated Baudelaire. He had a pale face and his eyes blazed with passion. He was the handsomest devil I knew in my youth, and many ran frightened from him, but my sister and I, we were in love with him. And we would read poetry by candlelight together. She was 14 and I, sweet 16. Like tender bells tingling and chiming dew. Dear spectre in white, how I long to be soft like you.
That's mad dreaming, Marina.
Actually, our devil was a real gentleman. He never asked to conquer the body. His eyes gazed upwards towards the holy heavens of virginal sky, solely interested in the purity of the soul.
How terribly romantic, Marina. My, oh my.
Those were our white nights for the gay.
But dark nights followed too.
I lay dying on the second floor, opposite the window that looked out into the boulevard of poplar trees. But Marina loved. I called out to her, "Come here, Marina. Come here, child. I am dying here." She never came.
Father fought his wars at the museum when he could have been with Mother.
While he would spend drowsy hours with Alice at the library, the ladies of the house. Heartless wenches.
No wonder your mother is so angry with you, Marie. Perhaps we ought to take her sentiments a little more seriously.
How will you understand me, sir? I thank you humbly. You see now, Marina is not the Virgin Mary after all.
Whoever said I was the Virgin Mary, real gay? Still, Mother may not want to meet with me in the afterlife. Can you you ask her for me. 2 months after we buried her, Father had a heart attack. And I lit up the first cigarette of my life.
You never told me that, Marina.
Told you what? About Father or smoking my first cigarette? Mama, how awfully tedious you can be.
But you begged Ryder to talk to me. Don't you want to meet with me? You, child, are my biggest mystery.
Have you ever smoked, Rainer? What a comfort. The only bloody thing that never betrayed me, the kiss of smoke. I just lit up and the flames turned into feuding fumes and I absorbed them. The soulful magenta of smoke. On and on I inhaled and in the end, crushing the cigarette stub like a black widow.
Marina doesn't smoke. She devours cigarettes.
Oh, damn you, Rainer. Damn you to the devil.
Later they'll say that Marina devoured men too.
Damn you to the devil too, Mama.
I'm stopped up and sent to them because I've given birth to you.
Poets and lovers turn everything upside down, Rainer. When they meet each other, they spend hours yapping about trivialities, reciting poetry to each other, speaking literature. I hate those who converse. They don't live literature. Heart-to-heart conversations worth nothing but trouble. Soulmates, they call themselves. Lovebirds. And why do they need all this barren discourse? In order to conquer a young lady's body or make love to a mortal man. Pathetic.
Marina, when was my daughter ever out of love? But I am the only one who ever truly loved you.
I loved you too, Mama.
Marina devours men.
Don't mock me, Rilke. Look at me, Reiner. My face is haggard, my veined hands are bruised from the work, from the washing, from having to drag water cans every day, from the wells, from the floors I cleaned. Look at me. The gray color of my skin, my graying hair, weeks surviving on potatoes, long days on slices of stale bread. Look at me! Reiner, I see you. You can't hide behind the clouds from me. I'm a young body in an old dress. If I'm not still gravely ill, it's only because my soul is pure. And now I have found this hook. Now I am able to lay my soul to rest. Do you remember once you wrote me?
If I should be silent, my lovely, don't stop writing to poor Rilke. I remember what I wrote once.
But I felt insulted. I thought that what you really meant was...
That I needed a rest from my Marine. You can write from time to time, but I maintain the right of silence. Is that what you thought I meant?
Yes.
I always write exactly what my heart means, my dear.
I didn't know then that you were ill, Reiner. That you were dying being so young. That you didn't want to be a burden, didn't want anyone to feel sorry for you. Had I only known that you were so sick, Reiner. Had I only
It was
known.
not my wish for you to know. Pity is awful.
I would have dropped everything and come to you. But since you didn't wish to be seen on your ailing bed, perhaps it's better that I never. You were proud like me, Rilke.
Perhaps I just really wanted rest. Peace. Not from you, but from life itself.
My Rilke. How good that we never met so that we couldn't spoil each other during our lifetime. We will meet now, though, in the afterglow. The death bells for Marina are tolling, Reiner. Am I right? And now I ask for rest. And you will be my rest, Reiner Maria Rilke. You will be my final rest. Just once in my life, I thought I had found rest. That was in Coctebel, when I met Sergei Efron. I told those other men hovering about me, whoever brings me the stone I like, I will marry.
So I went down to the shores of Coctebel to find her stone. Only on the shores of Coctebel could one find semi-precious stones like
We
this.
used to go down to the shore to collect stones for bracelets and necklaces. Beloshin used to say that Coctebel was the ancient Cimmeria, the land of Homer.
Coctebel was at the very edge of the world, really.
A tiny community nestled in the blue hills that swept down the sea. And Efron, Sergei Efron, came and presented me with my stone to known Cornelian. My stone.
Someone once told me that she tried to commit suicide for love.
Suicide isn't a simple thing. In Coctebel, life was simple though. We knew the art of choosing wisely. From an assortment of stones on the shore, we chose the most beautiful. From an assortment of words, we tried to piece the most truthful. From all the men, I chose.
She chose me.
Ephron, whose eyes never ever lied, whose face never knew how to don a mask, whose hands, with their long, slim fingers, knew how to choose from among the stones on the shore.
Her stone. Coctebel, I remember you well.
Sergei's dark lips tasted like blackcurrant jam.
Oh, yes. I remember Coctebel, too. The vast beaches, the sound of the rolling ocean, the cradling net of stars in the night sky, the gentle, rocking winds. I, too, vacation here with my family. I love it. I love this little slice of heaven here on Earth.
Well, who on earth are you?
Why do you care who I am?
Who the hell are you?
Saditis Poshalsta!
What?
I said sit down. You are Maria Svetaeva, are you not?
Yes, I am.
And what is your occupation?
I'm a poet.
Well, all the more reason to sit, if you're indeed a poet. On the other hand, a poet is not a true occupation. What do you do for the Soviet state?
I write poems.
If I were in your shoes, I wouldn't be joking.
Who's joking?
Who is your husband?
Ephron, Sergei.
And where is he now?
Seems to me you know the
Just answer the question.
My husband is imprisoned, and I hope he is still alive.
Is he a Jew?
Is that what's important?
Answer the question, is he a Jew?
Are you?
So he is a Jew.
He's half Jewish from his father's side.
What about your father? He is a Jew.
His name is Ivan Svetaev. Does that name sound Jewish to you?
Again, you are impudent. Your husband's life greatly depends upon your behavior today. Do you understand?
Yes, otherwise I wouldn't be listening to you. But I'm all ears.
So on his mother's side, your husband descends from a noble family.
Yes, but his mother was a revolutionist. She was twice imprisoned by the Tsar's police. Besides, comrade, sir, don't you think one ought to earn one's ancestry? That it's not simply enough to be someone's descendant.
Did I permit you to philosophize on the matter at hand, huh? Listen here. Your husband was a member of the White Army, and then was involved in counter-revolutionary activities. How did that come to be?
He did as many people did in those days, but he was young. He realized that he was mistaken later and became a knight of the revolution.
What are you talking about? You poet? Doesn't poet rhyme with harlot? Huh? Damn dirty poet.
In Ephron's face, I pledged allegiance to the knighthood. All those who lived and perished without fear, still in these ill-fated times, we live on in the composition of
You seem nervous, a bit agitated. You do. Well, no need to rush things. We'll chat some other time. Poet.
They took my husband, Rainer. They took my sister, too. They took my daughter. They left me here to write my final poem, and I don't know if it will be a requiem or a hallelujah.
Marina is egocentric! Marina is so strange! There's no one in Moscow who dares dress like she does!
But when I published my first book of verse, they loved it. I was invited to read my poems everywhere.
Marina is eccentric! Who wears silken dresses with golden threads? That velvet vest with the wide silver belt. Those amber necklaces, amethyst earrings, turquoise beads. Ah, Marina, my gypsy girl! Marika!
Let them talk. At least Ephron will always be by my side. I have a mad passion for life, Reiner, a burning passion, and all of Moscow listens to my voice. They gossip behind my back, naturally, but Moscow holds its breath when I speak poetry. Moscow presents me with the Pushkin Prize!
Bravo! Bravo!
Listen, Reiner, I won't accept this prize or anything else from them. This is a trap. They won't lower me into the earth. Never! Not me! Not while my limbs shift and my heart pounds and my breasts swell with lust. Not me! When Father opened the museum in Moscow, I met the Tsar. He gazed at me and I delved into his eyes. Pure, transparent, like the eyes of an inquisitive, lost child. Kings are children, Reiner. They're toys for ordinary people to play with. We dress them in luxurious garments, seat them in golden coaches, drive them in their lush coaches to their coronation or into the thick of the forest, to their execution. My baby daughter, they starved her to death. The Tsar, they shot 2 children, that's what they were. But Alia, my eldest, she managed to be born in the good years, when Marina's voice still resounded above the stormy voice of war like thunder on the distant horizon. My Germany will fight Russia, Reiner. My Russia will fight your Germany, and what am I to do? I love them both, you know. And actually nobody knows why they fight each other, the birthplace of my body and the birthplace of my spirit. I know Ephron is conscripted to kill the sons of Goethe. This war is a terrible mistake. My husband couldn't understand the war either. Ephron just feigned he understood it. But then again, it was much easier to fight Germany than to ward off my lovers. Sophia. I couldn't fight Sophia. I didn't want to fight Sophia. I forgave her everything before I even knew her name. Sophia. The silent poet of heaven and earth, my Sappho, my tragic love and great shame. I would lay my head on Sophia's bosom and she would caress my curls. I never rested my head on my own mother's breast. From the secret darkness of our love, from the ardent desperation of convulsed bodies, I would come to rest on Sophia's chest, like a weary child after a tedious day in the playground. But it's not possible for one soul merely to blend in with the other, not really. Someone must die if one soul is to conquer the other. How long could I love her?
How long could she love me?
Forever?
What does one do with such a suicidal love?
Everyone cried out, what is she doing to Sergei Ephron, the poor soul? I will love Sergei for all my days. He is dear to me. I will not leave him for anyone.
Leave him for me, please.
I write to him every day. He knows everything there is to know about me. I try not to sadden him. A heavy burden weighs upon my heart.
And so I left Marina.
Wait, don't go, Sophia!
Adios.
Forgive me, Sophia! My immense love and dilemma. But when it damn burst inside me after Sophia abandoned me. After Sophia, everything was different. My arms stretched out to the world that couldn't shake me off itself, the world that coveted a poetess. I am searching for something unique, something impossible to find. It isn't peace, it isn't harmony, it isn't matrimony. I search for the core of my loneliness in the heart of the whirlpool, the very loneliness from whence poems are born. It's true, even Osip Mandelstam was frightened, and he was a poet himself. He who had suffered from that same loneliness as well.
I couldn't stand the heat of your loneliness, Marina.
Which breaks down your own. In the beginning, the days were woven of wine and roses. In those days, Moscow was my heart. Her wide roads, my arteries. Her rivers, my veins. Her bridges, the joints of my body. The Kremlin's domes, my breasts. And I gave my body to Osip.
Slowly, slowly.
Men in St. Petersburg don't know how to behave in Moscow. One needs to take them like one takes a child to the market for the first time and then expose them ever so slowly to its colors and its smells, to the drunken fights. That's the only way to do it.
Like a fragile bird, I took Osip into the palms of my hands and made him drink the wine of the only city I ever loved. Sip by sip, tiny sips so he wouldn't get drunk and fall.
I was only tipsy.
So that dreamily he'd stroll the streets by my side.
Floating in squares, bathed in clusters of stars. Oh, what a city Moscow is for lovers! Oh, snowflakes, the tinkling of sleigh bells mimicking the bells of its churches.
He was a man, but more like a child. Another child by my side.
But still a man whose lips muttered poetry all the time. I mean, I only spoke poetry. I never wrote a word.
And near him needed to transcribe his rhymes or remember the rhymes by heart. I used to walk by his side as he mumbled, and I mumbled, mimicking him. Once he broke out in laughter.
Because you sounded like a boisterous synagogue, Marina.
What do I have in common with those Jews, Reiner? Ephron, Mandelstam, Pasternak. The eyes. The soul of the eyes. Sergei, Osip, Boris. Eyes one can drown in. Deep wells brimming with secrets. The eyes. I strolled by his side, and in the streets, trucks rolled by, packed with soldiers. All this waste. These young lives poured down the drain. Who drinks their young blood, Osip?
Well, Russia drinks, Marina. But then it's only drizzle. The soft tail end of the summer rain. The winter will soon follow. Long and cruel, soaked with terror, barricades. Human beasts will leap at their brethren, tearing at their throats. Marina, hunger will be so great that fathers will eat their own children. A holocaust, destruction, and rivers skimming off blood. The dawn will turn crimson with blood. The fish in the Volga will eat human flesh. But you see, Marina, Russia will purify itself in this way.
These damn foolish men adore the apocalypse until they are drawn into it. And then what? Osip Mandelstam, my boy with the most beautiful eyes, returned to Petersburg.
They will take you with their bare hands, zealous, stubborn. Your screams will fill the night. They will scatter your wings to all four winds. Ho, seraphim! Ho, eaglet!
They took you, Osip. They took you, my dear Osip. They took you to their prisons. They took you, and they will take Mad Marina too, right?
I won't let them take you, Marina. I won't let them do a thing to you, not to you.
The train passed by with a scream, and the soldiers hollered, and the receding truck was covered in dust.
Turn the other way. Walk past them. Don't you stay, Marina. Don't you stay.
No, better to die. Better to have never been born than to hear these convicts, piteous, pitiful wails, these soldiers. Oh, Lord God, my God!
They took Osip Mandelstam, and no one knows what happened to him.
Only I didn't go crazy, Reiner. How can one go crazy? I had 2 daughters to feed. Milk, Reiner. How could I go crazy when I had to get a hold of a cup of milk for a baby who didn't read Karl Marx? I went to the villages to exchange a bar of soap, matches, and payment for food. I broke all that furniture Mother brought me from Germany on my wedding day so there would be enough wood to light the fire. And when there was no furniture left, we axed down the doors, chopped off the banisters, ripped apart the wooden floors. That beautiful house on 3 Pond Street, we turned into a skeleton. A haunted home where ghosts moan at midnight. And so, my tiny daughter ascends into the heavens on Mercy's chariot. Golden stars will welcome her above the red heavens. In God's courtyard, business as usual, but for my Irina! Have you seen her, Reiner?
Death is great, Marina. We are in the Lord's keep, laughing at home. When we feel deep in life, that's when he weeps for our mortal soul.
What was your life like, Rilke? The girl who took care of you wrote me that you suffered terribly, although not for long. And how will I die? No, I cannot stand suffering. Surely not with a suffering, cringing, contorting body. Well, and of course not with a tortured soul. I will simply cross the border. One step, and you will be waiting for me. I'm not leaving this world because hunger is driving me out. Here, we still have some food. We have enough for 3 days. I will leave a loaf of bread, fish, and some rubles for my son. He's a big boy now.
And that's Marina's inheritance to her rebellious son.
I'm a danger to him now, Reiner. You must sense that. I do. I can be imprisoned, and he will be imprisoned with me. In Paris, he hated me for not following his father and sister to Moscow. In Moscow, he hated me for not stopping him from leaving Paris because I had given in. I didn't even tell him of the oath I had sworn his father 20 years ago. Efron was one of the Kremlin's guards, and I swore that if he made it back alive from war, I would follow him to the ends of the earth like a dog. Like a dog, I promised to follow, and like a dog, I pursued him.
So like a dog, she said she would go, and like a dog, she leapt after
In
him.
the beginning to Berlin, May 1922. Sergei Efron was already there. He had made it alive from hell, but he could not stay in Russia. He was a traitor, a white officer, bourgeois, a capitalist, half Jewish, an enemy of the people. Do you remember Berlin, Reiner? The air in Berlin, Reiner. Men tipping their hats before women. Women passing me in the streets, trailing wafts of perfume and cologne. The men so clean-shaven. I am reading poetry again, donning silk stockings. Prague! You love Prague too, Reiner, don't you? I know you do. Crossing the bridge from one bank to the other and back again to spy on the lovers on that bridge. Autumn in Prague. Oaks shed their golden leaves. Birches, lime trees in the suburbs. Men drop around me like autumn leaves into the silence of tender goodbyes. Prague, a city for lovers, not Paris. Efron was already busy making arrangements for us to move to Paris, but I didn't wish to leave Prague. I didn't wish to leave Radzevich. I was in love. Again.
But your love gave birth to new poetry.
We have knowledge that your husband, Sergei Efron, was involved in counter-revolutionary activities and was a German spy.
My husband is an honest man and could never be a traitor.
Your husband is not a spy, is that what you're telling me?
Exactly.
Is it also a lie that your father, Ivan Vladimirovich Svetaev, was a millionaire and sacrificed his millions in a fight against the revolution?
My father gifted Soviet Russia with an art museum.
We are not in need of that kind of philanthropy. Besides, he did to cover up his pimping, cheating, spying family's unsavory
Are you
activities.
condemning my family?
Your daughter Alia is also involved with your husband's criminal activities, and we have proof. Here is the document that serves as her confession. Take a look.
No, she could have never.
Oh, yes, she could. She very well could, Marina Ivanovna. And so could your son.
Impossible. He's only 15. He's a naive boy. But this is raving madness. A nightmare. This can't be real.
I assure you, this is not a poetic dream. And furthermore, you will regret it most definitely if you do not confess the truth. In the end, you'll confess anyway, but then it'll be too late.
Such a silence fills the air. As if all the inhabitants had been evacuated. Who knows on what front war wages now? Again they fight the land of my birth and the land that I love. I love this silence, this feeling of time, like sand sifting through my fingers. When I will it, it seeps out, and when I will it, it ceases. We had such a game when we were children. In Nieve on the seashore, we used to chuck sand up into the air, sky high.
Who'll get his eyes gouged out by a stick? Who'll get his nose melted off with a lick? Who'll get his face all bloody by a kick? Who'll get his head bashed in by a brick? How will you murder us now, Mother Russia?
You will die by strangulation. You will die of slow starvation. You'll be swallowed by a slimy slug. You'll be trampled by a mammoth bug. Oh, you witch, Baba Yaga.
Who will you eat now?
Will it be Sergei, Irina's father? Marina, Irina's mother? Irina, Marina's daughter? Alia, Irina's sister? Mord, my son? So it will be me then. Comrade Stalin, I don't know why my husband stands accused.
You still don't understand the gravity of your predicament.
Comrade Stalin, I appeal to your justice. My husband served this country with all his heart and soul.
How can you consume Comrade Stalin's time so shamelessly, bombarding him with these appalling letters? These letters only make matters worse. For your husband, for your daughter, for your sister.
Comrade Stalin, I beg you, take the situation under your control. If there was some ill report on Ephron, please examine the credibility of the person who wrote it.
We have proven that your husband is an enemy of the state, your sister an enemy, your daughter an enemy as well. You are the wife of an enemy of the state. All enemies of the state are in prison.
It is a mistake, I can assure you. This I promise you.
You will be in prison, and your son will be in prison right along with you.
I beg you, Comrade Stalin, mend this nonsense before it is too late.
It is already too late.
So no response from Comrade Stalin?
You are mad. Comrade Stalin doesn't correspond with enemies of the state. You have only one way out, in which to absolve yourself and your family, and atone for your sins before the fatherland.
What is it you wish for me to do, exactly?
Cooperate with the NKVD. Sign this document. You will inform the NKVD of all your family's criminal activities, as well as the criminal activities of your colleagues, your friends, these writers and so-called poets. It's the only way out. Trust me.
Trust you never.
You poor, sick woman. You should have taken that poet Pasternak's advice. He is a Jew. He must be wise.
Bastard!
Ryder, take me with you.
You have such clear eyes. Clear like water, like Alia, my daughter, and that elegy you wrote dedicated to me, Ryder. All my life I gave of myself and my poems to everyone, to the poets I gave as well. But I always gave too much. And maybe that's the reason poets never wrote poems for Marina. They leave it to someone who will come in another 100 years to pin down my name. And you wrote to me, Ryder. Your poem.
Real case poem. The song of songs of all the poets. Hail, ocean froth, jovial froth, Her Majesty's froth of the ocean, Marina.
Mord, my son, Morlaga, forgive me, but it would have only been worse were I to wait any longer. I am not myself. I am seriously ill. I love you madly. Believe me. Tell your father and Alia that I love them until the very last moment of my breath. that I was in a dead end. I love you. Truly, I do. Say yes to me now, too, Reiner. I recall your last letter.
Yes, and yes, and yes, Marie.
Your response in the affirmative to all that I had wished for so, but I, in my passionate madness, wrote, the past is still ahead of us, Reiner.
Yes, your past is still ahead, Maria.
Reiner, dusk is falling. A train is howling. Trains are wolves, wolves are Russia. No, it's not a train. I can hear Russia howling. Reiner, don't be angry with me. But, angry or not, tonight I will be with you. Those who find my body, it is not without soul. Make certain I am dead. I beg you, don't bury me alive. Yours, truly, Marina.